A week inside the month of January 2022. Good afternoon. This is KBC Lunchtime News. Glad you could make time. And of course, you can be part of the conversation via all our social media platform as we are live from the broadcasting house and also on our social media platform, including our very own KBC app. Of course, for comments, suggestions, or even where you are watching us from will be highly welcome. My name is Njue, and Wangeshi will be our sign language interpreter for this live newscast. We begin at Baringo, where Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembeya now says the government will shift from voluntary to forceful disarmament in areas experiencing insecurity in Baringo and Elgeyo Marakwet counties. Natembeya says that despite efforts to have residents voluntarily surrender illegal firearms, the situation has become worse, hence the need to resort to tougher measures to restore security.
The government will resort to forceful disarmament in areas hit by insecurity such as Kinyach in Baringo North and Aurora, Kapkobil and Tot in Elgeyo Marakwet. Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembeya says that residents have not voluntarily surrendered all illegal firearms in their possession despite being given time by the government to do so.
Mimi nasikia kuna vijana wa Tugen, wa Pokot na wa Marakwet wezi hata wameform WhatsApp group. Administrators moja Tugen, nyingine Marakwet, nyingine Pokot. Wezi. Hao wapigani kuiba tu, wakiiba wanaja nyinyi mkipigana. That now mambo ya voluntary disarmament nataka kuiweka kando. We are now to go to forceful disarmament. Mtu aikwamilia bunduki na unajua uko nayo is against the law. Utakuja askari akuja kwako na anajua mbeba bunduki. You are armed and dangerous. Atakuhandle livo.
Natembeya said that the government will not stop until all the firearms are returned to the custody of authorities.
Wakati tumesema voluntary disarmament, watu wajaleta bunduki, on the contrary, hata wala ambao kwa na bunduki wameenda kutafuta bunduki na kununua bunduki. So we're going to disarm people. Kama kutaweka NPR will now do that. Tusikuwe na bunduki ya serikali katika kijiji na pia kuna bunduki haramu katika hiyo kijiji. We'll send the village first, then now bring government firearms there.
Huwezi kuwa na mtu leo anafanya patrol kwa daraja pale akiwa na bunduki na yeye ni raia. Hiyo ndio shida ambayo tuko naye. Ile siku tutakuwa na disarmament katika area hii, ndio ule mtu wako na bunduki iwe ni mtu wa serikali, hii shida yote itaisha.
Guns in the hands of mwananchi is dangerous. It's very dangerous. If it is not possible now to go to that extent, I want to plead, let us have NPR.
This coming as a section of leaders in the region accused politicians of fueling animosity among locals as the electioneering period approaches.
Hii maneno ya usalama hii, ukiona tunakaa 4 years after elections vizuri, the last year ndio inakuanga na sita kwa sababu ya sisi wanasiasa. Ile matamshi tunasema kwa maparasa ndio inaleta shida.
In the meantime, Natembeya wants security beefed up in schools that have been closed down due to insecurity in the region.
Yeah, because shule watoto wanafanya mtihani in March. How can they be sitting at home? How can they be sitting at home? Tuweke askari hata kama ni kuchunga shule sichungwe, watoto waende wapi? Waende kwa shule. Na walimu wasiogope, we're going to have proper security in those schools.
Nancy Okware, Lunchtime News.
From Elgeyo Marakwet County, let's now cross over to the Bomas of Kenya. Today is ODM leader Raila Odinga's birthday, and as we speak, Kanini Kega is currently addressing those who are there, but he has just concluded his speech, and his brother Oburu Odinga is currently addressing the congregation. Let's first of all listen in.
Leo ni siku ya furaha. Kwanza mimi nina furaha tele kuwaona vile nyinyi mmefika hapa kwa wingi, to wish Amolo Odinga birthday. This is a very, very good gesture, and I would like to thank you again for the support. Since I came here, I've been listening, and I have heard the support which you have given, with saying that you are going to support Raila to be the next president, the 5th president of Kenya in 2022. This is a great thing. You are not doing it for the sake of it. You are doing it because I can assure you, Raila has a vision for the youth, and Raila knows that this country cannot develop unless you unleash the very, very powerful force of the youth. The youth, since independence, have played a very, very crucial role in the development of this country. Independence of this country could not have been achieved if our youth were not there. All the changes that have taken place in this country, including the second liberation, would have taken place if it was not because of the power of the youth. And Raila wants to develop industry. Industry cannot develop without trained manpower. And trained manpower can only be the youth. Because Oburu Odinga cannot be trained. I cannot be trained anymore. You cannot teach tricks. So it is the youth which will develop this country, and we can assure you that in the hands of Raila Amolo Odinga, you are in very, very good hands, because Raila is not a thief. I can tell you, if you hand this to thieves, this country dogs. So you must be very careful with your choices, and we urge you to continue in the same manner and make sure that all of you are registered as voters. And also make sure that on the day of voting, your support can count, so that your kura can count. If you don't vote for your vote counted as a vote which has been given, because it is one kura which to the ballot, which will be used to defeat Raila Amolo Odinga in the voting. So with those few words, I just want to introduce members of our family who are here, and if they are, stand up and be counted. This one is called Tawenwa Odinga Oranga. She is a scientist. And
those are live pictures from the Bomas of Kenya. That is just a small preview of the celebrations to celebrate ODM leaders Raila Odinga's 77th birthday at the Bomas of Kenya. And as you can see on your screen is his brother, his elder brother actually, Oburu Odinga, who is the EAC MP. Of course, a lot will be said, and something that has come up when he has spoken is that he has talked about Raila leading the second liberations that also led to the clamor for multi-partyism in the country, which he spearheaded, and he has asked for support from those who have attended to ensure that Raila makes it to the top seat in this year's general polls. Away from that, let's now focus on more politics, where a section of leaders from Bomet County have warned against any attempts to disrupt a meeting by Deputy President William Ruto's scheduled for Monday. Led by county boss Hilary Balchok, the leaders called for political tolerance ahead of the much anticipated visit, saying the meeting will be purely United Democratic Alliance UDA event. A political showdown is expected in Bomet County ahead of the planned visit by the Deputy President William Ruto on Monday. Former Governor Isaac Ruto, incumbent Hilary Barchok, and Petroleum Chief Administrative Secretary John Musonik have all expressed interest in the gubernatorial seat. The trio all enjoy a warm relationship with the second in command and may be quietly hoping for an endorsement from Ruto. A section of leaders from the county led by the Governor Hilary Barchok warning those who intend to cause disruption during the rally.
This is a UDA affair, and if you are planning to come, of course, being a resident of Bomet, you are also welcome. But behave. We don't want to be dictated in terms of what we want in terms of the program, who should speak and who should not speak.
Let us say thank you because he has invited us.
Meanwhile, Kisii Senator Professor Sam Ongeri has officially expressed interest for the gubernatorial seat should the people of Kisii give him the mandate later this year. Speaking during a meeting with ODM delegates from the county, the senator highlighted his transformation agenda, pledging to harness resources availed under devolution, Lake Basin Economic Bloc, and development partners in wealth creation for the county.
Sisi tuko katika jumuiya ya Lake Block Region ambao itakuwa na pesa mingi sana tukiwa pamoja, tukiuza bidhaa pamoja. Hii soko la daraja mbili itakuwa ni international market. Watu watatoka Tanzania, wengine watatoka Uganda, wengine watatoka nje ndani ya Kenya kuja kujumuika katika mambo ya soko la hapa daraja mbili.
In Githurai, traders at Githurai Market in Kiambu County are now demanding a share of what the Deputy President William Ruto promised them in October last year when they paid him a courtesy call at his current home. Led by Sospita Mwangi, the traders revealed that at least 1,000 traders were invited to the official residence of the Deputy President, who later promised to support their small businesses with 2 million shillings, which has yet to materialize.
Sisi tumekuwa watu wetu wanatuambia nyinyi mlipoa pesa zetu mkakulia kwa njia. So that's why sisi tumeitana to clear the air, we distance ourselves, watu wetu wajue ya kwamba hakuna kitu tushawaipata. Na kitu moja tungependa kuuliza Deputy President, ni vizuri pia yeye akamkilia aseme ya kwamba nilipeana either zikapotelea kwa njia ama mimi nilipromise lakini sikuweza kutimiza ile ahadi.
Watu wa Githurai soko walienda kwake, aliwaahidia shilingi milioni 1 ya watu ya transport na shilingi milioni 1 ya wafanyi biashara ya soko Githurai. Lakini sasa tunashindwa sababu hiyo pesa hatujazipata.
Elsewhere, Kirinyaga Council of Elders have insisted on auditing leaders vying for various elective posts in order to get rid of corrupt and irresponsible leaders. The leaders were speaking yesterday where Peter Kathanga was given the blessing to vie for the Kirinyaga senatorial seat.
Kutoka MCA mpaka gavana lazima wapitie wa Kirinyaga Council of Elders ili tusague mbisi na bifu.
Ikichaguliwa, jambo la kwanza ni kuhakikisha kwamba mali yote ya Kirinyaga inatumika kwa njia inayofaa. Tukiwa na miradi, pesa itumiki kwa njia mbaya.
From politics, let's now shift focus to matters education, where students across the country have been urged to refrain from acts of indiscipline as schools reopen for the new calendar year. The call by Embu County Commissioner Abdullahi Galgalo comes amid concern over the growing rate of indiscipline that has been characterized by burning of school property across the country.
Over 100 schools in the country saw a wave of arson attacks attributed to indiscipline among students. Speaking during the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of competence-based curriculum classrooms at the All Saints Kigari Day Secondary School, Embu County Commissioner Abdullahi Galgalo warned students on the acts of criminality, urging them to uphold high standards of discipline to secure their future.
Kuwa na tabia yako na ubaki na yako na utoke hapa ukiwa mtakacha mvunguni lazima afanye nini? Sote tumeinama. Hawa ndugu zangu wote ambao mnaona wako kazini, walimu wenu pale wote wameinama. Please, inameni na Mungu akipenda mtafaulu. Na nidhamu ama tabia nzuri haitakugharimu chochote.
Shule ine zimekuwa na unrest. Na tumekamata wanafunzi 8. Saa hii wako kotini, kesi inaendelea, hatujui the outcome of the court.
Galgalo also appealed to the learners to shun away activity that will compromise their well-being. He at the same time reported that construction of CBC classes had commenced in earnest with 158 classrooms expected to be constructed in 151 schools in the county.
Mwito wangu kwa wale wanaojenga, tafadhali sana mutujengee madarasa ambayo watoto wetu watafurahia na waendelee kufurahia kwa miaka yote inayokuja.
And still leaning on education, there is need for schools and institutions of higher learning to be integrated digitally in tandem with the digital age embraced across the globe. Principal Secretary for University Education and Research, Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, said integration of digitization in education would enhance efficiency in delivery, hence improve performance of students.
While speaking in Sipala Secondary School in Bungoma County, the Principal Secretary for University Education and Research, Ambassador Simon Nabukwesi, said the government is working on a program which will see all first-year university students given free laptops for their academics.
ICT literacy is something whose time has come. If you are not computer literate, you are as good as illiterate in all other areas. Because when you go to university, you'll find that right now teaching is on virtual platforms. And that's why at the State Department for University Education, we have proposed that the government buys a laptop for every first-year student. That is in the process.
He added that the Ministry of Education is working tirelessly to ensure that learning is digitized, noting that some institutions across the country had already adopted e-learning.
If you are not exposed to computer and you don't understand computer, it will be very difficult, because some universities even use more of the e-library than the physical library that we go in to search for books.
His sentiments were echoed by Center for ICT Integration Chief Executive Officer David Butita, who called for provision of equipment that will aid e-learning in education institutions.
But institutions are lacking infrastructure. You can work from anywhere. We are taking the education to where it is. This is a 21st century learning. As we adopt the usage of ICT, internet usage, we are reducing carbon.
Board of Management with the directors.
Moving on, residents of Kadera in Mbeere North have teamed up to construct a 12-kilometer road that will connect Kanyuambora to Ovarire. The residents say due to heavy rains, the road has been rendered impassable, making it difficult for them to access other areas, prompting their efforts to repair it.
According to the community members, after the heavy rains that poured the area last year, the road developed trenches that rendered the road impassable, prompting the residents to team up.
Kinyesha inakuwa ni hivyo hivyo. So mama wetu hata ukiangalia hapa tuko mpaka na ladies ambayo wanajitolea ndio wakuja kutengeneza hii barabara.
The residents say the state of the road has made access to hospitals and schools a tedious task, necessitating action by residents.
Hii barabara imetoka Kanyuambora kwenda Ngonyumo na ni only 12 kilometers, lakini kufika pale inakuwa ni safari karibu ya masaa mawili.
Sababu bali kama huku hata matatu huwezi pata. Kununua matatu hapa kila kitu inakuja inaharibika. So inakuwa ni gharama mno na kila mahali, yani kila siku.
They also say transport on the road for motorists, traders and passengers has been made difficult as public vehicles cannot access the road, leading to a hike in price by boda riders.
Inamaliza magari za watu wa hii area, inamaliza pikipiki za watu wa hii area. Hii ni kwa sababu tear and wear, yani gari zinaisha sana sababu ya mashimo, mawe, mito na milima.
The residents say their efforts will only offer temporary reprieve and are therefore calling on the leaders to intervene to permanently solve the matter. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Wamboi Otiende.
Now, members of Embakasi Ranch have accused the security apparatus of allegedly frustrating their efforts to get their land. The members said they are the original owners of Embakasi Ranching Company's land, yet they have not benefited from the same. They claim police in Kayole allegedly arrested their directors who were in the process of showing them their pieces of land. Police have, however, denied the claims. The land tussle in Embakasi Ranching Company, Nairobi County, seems to be far from over. A section of members in their old age, most of whom come from Kiambu County, now claim that they are original owners of Embakasi Ranching Company and that they have not benefited from it. They claim police in Kayole have allegedly arrested their directors who were in the process of showing them their pieces of land.
Wamekamatwa wakienda kutuonyesha mashamba na tunanyang'anywa hiyo mashamba na kateros kwa sababu wanatumia polisi kutunyanyasa.
Tulikuja hapa kuonyeshwa hapa Embakasi Ranching Company kuonyeshwa shamba letu zile tulilipa mwaka wa 1973-75 mpaka leo bado kuonyeshwa.
Sasa ile majina tulichagua male madirekta wetu tunataka hawa wawachiliwe ofisi.
The wrangles have seen the members split into two groups, both claiming to control Embakasi Ranching Office.
Hii watu wako kwa ofisi wanatunyanyasa kwa sababu walisema walipatia president eka 1000. Ndio unaona tunasuburiwa na polisi namna hiyo kwa sababu ati president alipewa. Tunataka kuuliza president kwa alipewa shamba yetu aturudishie. Sisi watu wote tumetoka location moja pale Kiganjo. Na tumenyimwa shamba yetu, tumenyimwa haki yetu kwa sababu polisi wanatupika kila siku.
Tunataka shamba zetu zile kwa sababu ni haki yetu. Kwa hivyo tunataka shamba letu zile tulinunua miaka sijui 30 or 40 to 50 years ago.
Kayole District Criminal Investigation Officer Jackson Owino did not talk on camera. However, confirmed that a team led by James Njoroge was with a surveyor on the land. He called on the members to be patient as the government looks for a lasting solution. Shareholders urged the president to intervene for them to get their land.
Na tungeomba president aingilie hii maneno, hata mawakili wetu waingilie hii maneno, ndio raia wa Kenya. Sisi tuko na miaka 91 na tumenunua hiyo shamba shilingi 100 na si shilingi 200.
Timothy Kipnoso for Lunchtime News. You are watching KBC Lunchtime News at about 23 minutes past the hour. We are taking a quick break, but before we do that, allow me to appreciate Justice Mark Dominic. You're watching live Muhia wa Kandara from Kandara Town, Mawazo Malemi, Tanganyika, Katavi, Tanzania. Lunch njema kwa wote, you say. Amy Bowen following from Nairobi, Rashid Moni from Mombasa, Jomvu, Mike Omondi watching live from Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology, and Timothy Zilim, you're watching from Zimmerman. Keep them coming. Let's have that break. We'll be right back with more news.
Taala anatufahamisha ni nani anayefanya mtu kwa tajiri na ni nani anayefanya mtu kwa maskini na ni nani anayemfanya mtu kuwa kiongozi na ni nani anayefanya mtu kutokuwa kiongozi.
Vile vile anampa riziki na kumfakhirisha yule ambaye anamkusudia na anamkosesha yule asiyemtaka.
What we've been seeing in terms of flu-like symptoms among many Kenyans has everything to do with the Omicron variant that was reported by the ministry.
If you have the so-called flu symptoms, go for COVID testing.
As a country, should we trust what other countries are doing?
For Kenya, I can assure you, most of the kits that we have, or all of them, the ministry had already strategized for this.
Do we have an end to this pandemic?
Yeah. A virus takes hours. So within an hour, a virus could have replicated 10, 20, 30 times. Now, when you're talking a date which is 24 hours, the virus could have undergone 1,000 replications.
Welcome back and thanks for keeping it KBC. Moving on, detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations in Kiambaa Sub-County have arrested a suspect in connection with the New Year murder of her 24-year-old lover. This and more stories in news-making headlines in the counties.
25-year Brian Waweru has been arrested in connection with the death of his lover Evelyn Wanjiru. Detectives in Kiambu say the deceased was severely stabbed in the abdomen and her forehead with a sharp object. According to her auntie Nelly, she was attracted with a bad smell and she saw legs covered with a blanket.
He also led my officers to the house and he showed them the place where he had hidden the knife. That is the murder weapon that he used to kill the girlfriend. This morning, we have taken Brian to court.
While most schools in Kisii are lamenting a new trend where students are reporting to school without fees, head teachers claim if unchecked, it will be hard for education to continue as they will have no money to keep the pupils in schools.
The year is having 4 terms, and you find that it's becoming a very big challenge for the parents to pay fees because the holidays are very short. And even the students are not even having enough rest.
Elsewhere, Embu County Commissioner Abdullahi Galgalo has appealed to students to refrain from acts of indiscipline in order to succeed in their studies and life after schools reopen for the 3rd term.
Kuwa na tabia yako na ubaki na yako na utoke hapa ukiwa mtakacha mvunguni lazima afanye nini? Sote tumeinama. Hawa ndugu zangu wote ambao mnaona wako kazini, walimu wenu pale wote wameinama. Please, inameni na Mungu akipenda mutafaulu.
In Turkana, top officials from the Department of Health have committed to support the newly formed County Health Services Administrative Fund board in a bid to streamline revenue collection.
We'll cut down on the bureaucracy of health facilities accessing funds to be able to address immediate and emergency needs in the course of providing health services to the people of Turkana.
Finally, in Tarbo, Uasin Gishu County, police have arrested 3 suspects believed to be behind a spate of burglary and house break-ins in Eldoret town and its environs, recovering stolen electronic goods worth more than 1 million.
And we want those who are robbers, especially at night, that their days are numbered. We have intensified patrols within and without Eldoret Township, and we leave nothing to chances.
A decrease in global supply of coffee may be setting Kenyan farmers for higher earnings over the next 2 years. According to the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, prices hit a decade high last month with a 50 kg bag of sherry fetching an average of 39,000 shillings as at end of December. The change is occasioned by the instability in Ethiopia and erratic weather patterns in Brazil and Colombia.
Coffee farmers increased their production in December last year by 70% as compared to the same period the previous year. As at December 31st, The Nairobi Coffee Exchange sold 7.4 million kilos of coffee beans worth 5.7 billion shillings, a 10-year record high. This represented a 115.89% increase from the same period in 2020, where farmers who sold via the auction made 2.6 billion shillings. Year on year, a 50 kg bag of coffee fetched an average of 39,000 shillings during the period under review, up from 31,000 shillings the previous year. The high December prices were partially due to the high quality beans presented at the auction by farmers. The exchange projects farmers will continue enjoying the good prices for 2 years as production in leading coffee producing countries falters. Brazil, which is the world leading coffee producer, had to contend with cold weather and droughts that saw a significant drop in coffee beans production. Colombia, the world's third largest coffee producer, is also grappling with reduced production due to heavy rains that have destroyed part of the crop. The unrest in Ethiopia, which is the 5th largest producer of coffee in the world, also registered a decrease in production due to hostilities that crippled the coffee supply chain. This, coupled with the breakdown of the global coffee value chain due to COVID-19 pandemic, has seen demand for the coffee beans increase. Farmers have been encouraged to take advantage of the increased global demand and increased production. Benson Njue reporting for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, in an aim to drastically reduce the use of chemicals in farming, groups in Isiolo and Marsabit counties are sensitizing residents on organic farming practices and processing of local organic manure to drive production of organic foods for domestic use and selling. Pastoralist Women for Health and Education CEO Shoba Liban says the use of animal waste and farmyard manure helps maintain soil fertility and ultimately reduces the cost of production.
Over 200 chemicals used in farming have been flagged as being harmful, and the National Assembly has petitioned the Pest Control and Products Board to audit them. This, in addition to consumers growing preferringly organically grown foods, has seen demand for organically grown food increase. In the counties of Isiolo and Marsabit, Pastoralist Women for Health and Education, a local NGO, hopes that awareness campaigns will help lure more northern Kenyan residents into organic farming. Liban says organic farming should not be an expensive venture, but a way of life for those in an intention of growing their own healthy foods by using locally available resources such as farmyard manure.
Si lazima akimbie kutafuta sokoni mboga. Hata akimbia kutafuta mboga kwingine, atakuwa amesave wakati amesave pesa pia ile angekuwa atatumia kwa kununua chakula ingine, na pia ameweka chakula ile iko na umuhimu kwa mwili yake kwa sababu anajua vile ameitunza, hajaweka dawa.
Farmers say the use of animal and farmyard manure helps maintain the fertility of their farms and reduce the cost of production.
Kupanda kunde, dania, terere, hiyo na kuna kuweka dawa wala kuna kuweka fertilizer, tunaweka mbolea kutoka kwa kuku ama mbuzi yetu ya maziwa. Imetusave sana kwa sababu mwanzo kama ukipanda hata kitu kidogo unatafuta fertilizer, unaenda unanunua na bei ya ile iko juu. Saa hizi hiyo ni kitu tu iko na wewe. Kama ni mbuzi uko naye, kama ni kuku tuko naye. Sasa hiyo tu ndo tunachukua tukitumia ile pesa ulikuwa tunatumia kwa mambo na fertilizer, saa hii unatumia kwa kazi nyingine.
The organization educates farmers on the production of composite and animal manure for use on their farms for sale given its high demand.
Hii kimaliza 6 weeks, hii mbolea inatolewa na inawekwa fresh. The next house ikimaliza 6 weeks inatolewa, wanazibeba. Hata hiyo umeona imebukiwa tayari. So like tunauza 1 ton 1000 na wanakuja na transport yao na wenye wana loaders wanajibebea. Hiyo inasaidia organic farmers wenye wanapanda cabbages, wenye wanapanda kahawa, mahindi na maharagwe. Na wanasema their farms are doing very well. So
the Pastoralist Women for Health and Education has so far trained 15 groups in Marsabit and Isiolo counties. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mtai.
And now to some good news for the region. The Democratic Republic of Congo is likely to be admitted to the East African Community Trading as early as next month. if it completes the remaining 2 steps for admission. Ministers involved in trade and foreign affairs from the DRC are expected in Nairobi next week for a meeting with officials from the EAC Secretariat to finalize the process. Ahead of this, the youth are already tapping into business opportunity. Cynthia Njue was in Goma, where she interacted with 2 Congolese entrepreneurs sourcing their wares from Kenya, Rwanda and Uganda, and are upbeat about the DRC joining the East African community. Take a look.
One of the main objectives of the EAC is to increase trade within the member states. Now, the youth seem to have already discovered the benefits of the EAC. I'm just going to take you through a business that buys its supplies from all over Africa, and also its customers are beginning to show up from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania and Rwanda. Let's find out more. Welcome, Cynthia. Bonjour. We talked to 24-year-old Alice Zananika, who in partnership with her sister set up a makeup studio in Goma, DRC.
Back in the days, Congolese women were seen, like, even in all over Africa, they were talking about Congolese women. Yes. In the time of Mobutu, we were all every time very smart, good hair, always looking good, and it's a big thing for us. Yes. We like looking good. The services that we offer is makeup, bridal makeup, yes, casual makeup, everyday makeup, yes, and we also sell products from all over the country. Yes. We sell some African brands because we want to promote our own brands.
2 kilometers away, we meet 23-year-old Esther Bishweka, who is one of the biggest flower distributors in Goma. Esther, who also operates a restaurant in DRC, says she owes her business acumen to living and growing up in Kenya and Uganda.
I left here when I was 11 years old, yes, to go to Uganda, yes, Rainbow International School, and then I went to Kenya, yeah, for 4 years and a half, Brookhouse School. That's where I graduated from high school. But I had to learn English really fast. In 3 months, I already knew how to speak, yes, and then the writing got up after. So in Uganda, it was really hard, but in Kenya, yes, I'd already known some English, and they speak Swahili. Yeah. But people in my school, most of them also international, so it was really nice.
Both Alice and Esther say they source their supplies from the East African community member states.
I have a friend of mine we went to high school with. She lives in Nairobi and she studies there, and she's the first person I will call if I need something, yes, from Nairobi, because like you guys, people from Nairobi, they have like these big malls, yes, and you can find exactly what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. It's not like here in Goma. Sometimes I need something but I cannot find it. It's the same thing in Uganda too. Yes, yes. If when you go to the mall, you have like these brands, yes, already there. You have like MAC Cosmetics, yes, and everything, yeah, and yeah, you can shop from there.
In Rwanda, even the variety of flowers we get other than roses, they also get them from Kenya. Yes. So for me, I'm really excited because we're going to have all these varieties of flowers, and later on I'll show you how we set them up.
The two say direct flights between Nairobi and Goma have positively impacted their businesses by easing and shortening the period taken to restock.
Yeah. We have a direct flight, yes, from Goma to Nairobi, yeah, Jumbo Jet, and they reassured to us that by January or February there's going to be a cargo, yes, which can take up to 1,000 kgs, so 1 ton of merchandise and stuff like that.
I will say it in one word, that means opportunity. Yeah, it's a huge thing for us, and we are thankful.
Esther plans to expand her flower business as well as facilitate a skills transfer to the Congolese.
I want to come to Kenya and visit a couple of farms and see how they are, because here we have farm spaces that are not exploited, and why not do I'm very excited, and to consult people who sell plants, maybe who can sell to us here, and then we can plant them. But also not just that, but also florists, professional florists who teach us about plants, who teach us about watering them, even when you have this, how to put in a vase, why a certain length, why is it important to remove leaves or to leave them, and how to wrap flowers, and deliver them to people.
The EAC Gender and Community Development Department is negotiating with development partners to support a youth exchange program for sharing opportunities and best business practices.
Now back home to something quite interesting. Now, 13 years ago, some youth from Mathare slums in Nairobi County decided to transform themselves into an income-generating group through the Jirani Mwema self-help group. After trying different ideas, the group eventually settled on the making of shoes from goat hide. Their production line is at the Karioko market, if you like Karioko. Our reporter Yusuf Farah spent an afternoon with the shoemakers of Karioko and filed the following report.
At the Karioko market, a busy atmosphere welcomes us to the stall owned by the Jirani Mwema self-help group. The young men are wrapped up in their business. Theirs is a story of making leather shoes from goat skin. The self-help group, formed in 2007 and registered in 2008, started off with a venture in table banking before venturing into different businesses to earn an income.
So tukaanza kusave, tukalewana na members wenzetu, tukasema wacha tujinyimane, at least to save kitu. At the end of the year, kuna kitu fulani tunaweza pata.
Several business ventures and savings later, the team agreed to invest in the shoemaking business after sharing ideas with their members. Their venture receiving a shot in the arm thanks to a 100,000 shilling loan from the Youth Enterprise Development Fund.
So, sisi kama wana Mathare, kuna kitu kunaweza anza ama kuna kitu tunaweza fanya ndio at least watoto wetu na Wakenya wanaweza vaa viatu kwa ajili ya jina ya Mathare Jirani Mwema.
The business manager walks us through a normal day in the office.
Tukishanunua ngozi tuna trace hii pattern kwa ngozi ndio tupate kitu yenye inakaa kama hii pattern kwa ngozi. Tukishaichora hii pia tunachora hivyo. Hii inachorwa 4 na hii inachorwa 2. Hiyo ni kiatu pair moja complete.
From the initial stage, the now cut and sewn skin is taken for lasting, which involves shaping and sole fitting.
Tuseme kiatu kwa sole kama saa hii inafaa ichukue muda kama 12 hours tu hapo kwa bao bila kutolewa, ndiye hiyo sole ikauke jina yako ikiwa moto, na hiyo gum pia ikauke. Sasa tukiweka jioni, sheria viatu nafaa inasema hiyo kiatu nafaa itolewe kesho asubuhi. Hiyo ni kiatu kwa complete na kwa ni kiatu strong.
This is then followed by finishing.
Sasa kiatu kishatolewa, kuna kwanga na overlap ya gum. Gum inaweza kuwa imetoka kama imetoka hivi, wanatoa hiyo gum, then wanafanya finishing ya ndani, vitu kama insoles. Wakishaweka insoles, waweke stickers, waweke number, then wanapiga rangi. Kiatu kishapigwa rangi, hiyo ni kiatu yenye iko ready, inaweza uzwa.
On a good day, the business can fetch up to 15,000 shillings in sales. The team makes a variety of shoes from boots, laced and non-laced shoes targeting school-going children, all from genuine grade 1 leather. That's not to say the venture doesn't come with its share of challenges.
Materials kama saa hivi bei inazidi kupanda. Unapata ukienda kwa duka leo, unapata hii ngozi kwa certain price, na ukienda kesho unapata hiyo price imeshoot. Ni price nyingine. Naye kubadilishia customer immediately bei, hiyo ni kazi.
Bado tuko chini in business, sababu mpango zetu ama zile program tuko nazo kama wana Mathare bado iko chini sababu ya fedha.
Despite the challenges, the young entrepreneurs would rather hammer away their struggles than involve themselves in what the society has seen as the norm of the youth in the informal settlements.
Unaweza chafuka, yes, but at the end of the day unashika pesa safi inakusaidia. So naambia hao mayuta huko watafute kazi yoyote, si lazima ati wakae kwa mtaa wafanya crimes.
Si watu wengi wanaipenda sana wasichana hawapendi kazi. Hii kazi iko na pesa na ni kazi inasaidia kama umeka akili hapo.
Wengi wanadharau vijana mtaa ama wanadharau Mathare. Ati Mathare hakuna ile kitu mzuri inatokea Mathare. Lakini sisi kama wana Mathare tulisema in future tunaweza reform Mathare ikuwe mali imejulikana ama mali imeshimiwa.
Thanks to their resilient and serious nature, the self-help group has not only made firm and steady breakthroughs in their lives, but they're also now able to make ends meet for themselves and their families.
Niliingia hapa nimefanya business for 3 years alafu nikafungua pia yangu. Mimi niko na yangu sasa hivi, nina run peke yangu, hata mimi nimeajiri vijana.
Our background is not that good. So imenisaidia sana pia kunisaidia watu nyumbani.
Nimeenda shule, kuna time naenda shule na najilipia mwenyewe, najitegemea na busy.
The group has now applied for a second and enhanced loan of 200,000 shillings from the Youth Enterprise Development Funds with plans to expand the business.
Elsewhere, one of Zimbabwe's biggest wildlife reserves is to receive $1 million annually from a brand new fund to help sustain its operations and fight poaching. The money, which will extend for at least 15 years, will help pay for ranger patrols, equipment, maintenance, and other everyday needs. The park's partner, the German-based Frankfurt Zoological Society. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines from across the African continent.
Zimbabwe's second largest reserve, the Gonarizu National Park, covers 5,000 square kilometers in the country's remote southeast and is home to at least 11,000 elephants as well as 2 black rhinos, whose numbers are kept secret for security reasons. The money for the park will come from the Legacy Landscapes Fund, a brand new international initiative that provides funds to help wildlife havens in poor countries. The Legacy Landscapes Fund, set up in 2021, is a public-private fund established as a charity under German law to help close the funding gap for biodiversity conservation. National parks that depend on tourism income have suffered during the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, Namibia is currently fighting the 3rd locust outbreak in the southern parts of the country. The first outbreak was reported in September last year by a commercial farmer, and a team was immediately dispatched. The initial control commenced in November, and by then, the infested area was estimated at 800,000 hectares of farmland. Since mid last month, swarms of locusts have been detected and spraying teams have been dispatched and are still in the field. Farmers are being encouraged to continue monitoring and report any locust infestations. Finally, the increase in OPEC's oil output in December has again undershot the rise planned under a deal with allies, highlighting capacity constraints that are limiting supply as global demand recovers from the pandemic. OPEC pumped 27.8 million barrels per day in December, up 70,000 barrels per day from the previous month, but short of the 253,000 barrels per day increase allowed under the supply deal. OPEC has agreed to proceed with 400,000 barrels per day output increase next month. The biggest decline of 100,000 barrels per day was in Libya due to force majeure on crude exports from the 2 terminals, while Nigeria had the second largest drop due to a force majeure on exports from the Facados crude stream.
Further afield, technology firm Samsung Electronics expects to post a 52% jump in profit for the last 3 months of 2021 amid the global chip shortage. The company's earnings were boosted by strong demand for server memory chips and higher profit margins in its chip contract manufacturing business. Details of this and more in our global news roundup.
The world's biggest memory chip makers estimates that it made $11.5 billion during the last 3 months of 2021. That would be its highest fourth quarter operating profit in 4 years for Samsung Electronics, which also benefited from currency fluctuations. In recent months, the global shortage of semiconductors has been causing major disruption for manufacturers, from car makers that have had to suspend production to Apple warning that iPhone shipments would be delayed. Investors are also watching the company's chip manufacturing operation in Xi'an, central China. Meanwhile, in a retirement age respecting society like South Korea, it's becoming some kind of a trend to see the retired trying to get back to work. Data from Statistics Korea showed by 2020, more than 30% of South Koreans aged 65 and above was still working after retirement. Many silver-haired people opt to be re-employed for making ends meet, as many of them do not have pensions. So far, South Korea has set up about 190 welfare agencies to help the elderly get new jobs. According to Statistics Korea, at present, there are about 8.57 million old people aged 65 and above in South Korea, accounting for 16.6% of the total population. Finally, online marketplace OpenSea says it is now worth $13.3 billion, following a new investment of $300 million. Trade in non-fungible tokens, unique pieces of digital code that can be associated with a digital asset such as work of digital art. Some non-fungible tokens have sold for millions of dollars. OpenSea says traders on the platform rose 600-fold last year, but some critics say the valuation is too high. The valuation for OpenSea comes at a time when an increasing number of businesses, sports clubs and celebrities are producing or purchasing non-fungible tokens. The total value of trade for non-fungible tokens was estimated to be worth $40.9 billion last year. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Indeed, let's now shift gears to sports and we begin with the KDF Cross Country Championship that is currently being held today. And before we connect with our reporter Frederick Mwoki, Eric Kiptanui wins the men's race and Helen Obiri has retained her crown at the Moi Air Base. Frederick Mwoki, kindly give us the latest.
Indeed, it is a good afternoon to you, Ben, Troy, and Njue back there in studio. Welcome to this live broadcast. We're coming to you live from Moi Air Base. This is the 41st edition of the Athletics Kenya Defence Forces Cross Country Championship that was held earlier today. And of course, it is a championship that will be used to select a squad that will feature in the national trials slated for 22nd of this month in Eldoret. The national trials will be used to select a squad that will feature in the World Cross Country Cross Country Tour that will be hosted in Kenya in Eldoret on 12th of next month. And of course, Helen Obiri, who is the 5,000 meters world champion, and of course also won the 2019 World Cross Country Championship, defended her title earlier today. And we also had Joyce Jepkemoi, who finished in the second position, and they have both booked their slots to the national trials, and they'll be representing the Kenya Defence Forces in the national trials. And in the men's category, defending champion Kandie Kibiwot unfortunately did not defend his title, but it was won by Eric Kiptanui and Koros, who finished in the first and second positions respectively. This is just the 41st edition of the Kenya Defence Forces Cross Country Championship, and of course the top 4 in each category will represent the Kenya Defence Forces in the national trials. The World Athletics inaugurated the World Cross Country Tour. For the first time, will be hosted in Kenya after it was launched officially last year when Kenya was hosting the World Intercontinental Tour at Kasarani Stadium. And of course, this will be being the first time that Kenya is hosting such a championship. Preparations were in top gear when Athletics Kenya officially launched the tour. And of course, it was renamed the Agnes Tirop Classic in honor of the late Athletics top cream. So we just add some of the key athletes who took part in this championship, and of course they will be hoping to do their best in the national trials to ensure that they book a ticket to feature in the World Cross Country Tour for the first time that will be hosted in Eldoret starting 12th of next month. We'll just keep you posted about more of this, what will be happening after the end of this cross country championship, the 41st edition of the Kenya Defence Forces. Back to you, Ben Troy Njue.
Thank you so much. That is our sports reporter Frederick Moki live from the MAB, or if you like, Moi Air Base, where our gallant men and women are competing in the KDF Cross Country Championship, being the 41st edition that will culminate into the national trials on 22nd of January in Eldoret. But latest, Eric Kiptanui has won the men's race, and Helen Obiri, the 5,000 meters world champion, has retained her crown in that race. Further afield, AC Milan closed the gap on Serie A leaders Inter Milan to a point after a